I still refuse to call this Ready or Not 2. Here I come. Like, who put the 2 there? I just can't with the title. Marketing really messed that up.
Well, at least like in the movie, they don't say ready or not to. It's just ready or not, here I come. I
Yes,
was
and that's
appreciative of that.
correct. In the
Yeah.
movie, they did it correctly, and I felt a little bit better about the
Yeah.
movie off the start. Like that was a good decision. Michael, Zach, Marty, guys, welcome to the conversation. Today we get to talk about Ready or Not, Here I Come. I'm telling you, I'm not adding the 2. It's interesting because this is actually Project Hail Mary weekend, and the thing that I noticed when I went to see Ready or Not 2 is like all of the restaurants around the theater were full. And it wasn't because of Ready or Not 2. I'm sure it was because of Project Hail Mary. So I guess just really quickly, did you guys get a chance to see Project Hail Mary?
It did, yeah.
Yeah, everyone enjoyed that. Highly recommend.
Very much so.
Read the book. Read the book.
Yep.
Read the book.
All I gotta
listen to the
say.
audiobook. Yeah, I personally like the book more. But you can't hard to turn
Really?
down. Yes. Oh yeah, totally. The movie is so rushed.
Oh.
The
Yeah.
movie's so rushed. Like you could feel the edit trying to fit all the plot points into too little time.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And it's also like it loses a lot without his internal monologue too.
Oh,
I
totally.
feel.
Mhm.
And like just so much
Yeah.
personality is just like his narration. And like the way the book narrates it, it's almost like he's Jimmy Stewart in space, which I really love. And I feel like the movie lost that quality a little bit.
It did. I think I said it on the podcast last week too. I was also kind of annoyed that the flashbacks don't feel like memories; they just feel like FYI sequences.
Yeah.
So frustrating, but overall good. I had the privilege of seeing an IMAX 70 millimeter. Highly recommend that if you have one of those theaters nearby. So okay, well, we're here to talk about the other movie that came out this weekend, Ready or Not 2, or Ready or Not, Here I Come. Which Michael, you had the chance to see this at South by, right?
That's right. I was the second screening. Unfortunately, well, I wasn't there for the sad screening where Sarah Michelle Gellar found out that the Buffy reboot got canceled before walking on stage. I was there for the morning and she had already left, which was kind of a bummer.
Sad day. Yeah, that's that.
Yeah.
My husband is heartbroken about that news. He's ready to cancel our Hulu account. But I want to know, we're going to talk about the movie, but really quick, since you saw that South by, Michael, I kind of want to know what that theater experience was like with the festival audience, especially with the South by audience.
So every South by screening is pretty much the same, which is that the audience erupts into laughter and applause anytime anything remotely satisfying happens in the movie. So, this has a lot of really good moments. So everyone was in a great mood, clapping and laughing along. I wouldn't say it was anything particularly different from the other South by screenings I had, I think, especially since it wasn't the first night. And what was interesting is that I know a lot of people out of the first screening were a little bit lukewarm on it. So, there was a nice energy in the room, but I think there was also maybe a sense of like this didn't quite hit the way it was meant to.
This is an interesting segue into expectations. Marty, I'm gonna come to you. What were you expecting from this sequel that really wasn't intended after the first one? It seemed like this was kind of made by popular demand. What were your expectations here?
I really enjoyed the first one. Like, I thought the first one was fantastic. It was really smart. And this one I like enjoyed, but yeah, I just don't think it met that same expectation as the first one. I still think it's like a great time. You'll enjoy yourself, but like it doesn't break the mold, let's say, the way the first one does. This one kind of just feels like, oh, we didn't get to make Scream 7, so let's just do something else that's fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Zach, you've been with us on a lot of conversations. There have been a lot of horror movies that have come out this year. Is this adding to how good the horror slate has been so far, in your opinion, or is it detracting?
I don't think this adds anything at all. No, I think I was very disappointed by this one. You mentioned earlier what expectations I had going into this. I
Mhm.
didn't really have many expectations. I had heard from different people at South by that it didn't really go very well. So if anything, that was the only expectation I went in with. I think that when you make a sequel, the intention is to try and improve on the first film, and I don't think this succeeds at that at all. And also, with making a sequel, you'd think that you'd try and introduce new ideas, and after a certain point, it all just starts to feel a little samey. Like it's all like if you, I don't really want to get into spoilers this early into the podcast, but there are certain scenes of this movie that there's one needle drop in particular, the total eclipse of the heart, that genuinely it took me out of the movie so much. It reminded me of the scene from, I don't know if you guys have seen The Strangers Pray at Night. It's a horror movie from a few years ago. It honestly reminded me of a way better scene from that movie that also had that needle drop. There are so many, this movie just reminded me of a bunch of other better films. And like, there are multiple things about this movie that I just didn't like. Like, actually, all my things are spoilers, so I'll keep it relatively spoiler-free.
You know what? Let's go ahead. Let's jump in because I'm trying to think. My next questions are probably going to get into spoilers anyway. So let's just go ahead.
Okay. Well, the cardinal sin of this movie is you have David Cronenberg, one of the greatest horror icons of movies, and you have him in I didn't watch the trailers for this, so I don't know if he was really featured in the marketing heavily, but I know that he was on the posters and his name was everywhere, and he's only in the movie for maybe 2 minutes max. And another actor that's the same way is Kevin Durand, who was also in Radio Silence's last film. Kevin Durand's one of my favorite actors, so it's really nice to see him in a horror movie. And this is another actor that they just kill off within the first, literally, I think it's his first or second scene that he's in the film, and he's killed off instantly. So yeah, this one wasn't for me. I'm sure you guys are really big fans of it, and I don't really want to be a Debbie Downer here, but no, you asked me at the beginning of this, is this a worthy horror movie? And I just really don't think so.
Let's be careful about the term big fans. I think we all tolerated it well enough. Yeah. Michael, I'm going to come back to you now that we're talking a little bit more in depth about our feelings about it. You saw it at South by, you got to kind of be among that lukewarm reception. What were your thoughts? And let's also talk about the cast and how it was utilized.
I think having the lower expectations out of the first screening definitely kind of helped me go in being like, okay, let's just have fun. I love the first one. It's a fave. Samara Weaving, queen, icon. So I was definitely very into it, into the prospect of a sequel, especially since it's taken them so long. I was like, surely they have something really inspired to bring to the table. Not really. It definitely felt like, these guys have been making Scream sequels for the past 5 years. And I think that sort of sense of let's do the same formula, but different-ish definitely kind of came into the picture. But ultimately, I think it was fun. I think the chemistry between Samara Weaving and Kathryn Newton was definitely the element that was fresh, that sort of made it feel worthy of the first one, even though it wasn't nearly as good. There were a couple of great set pieces. I love the pepper spray fight in particular. That was fabulous when Samara Weaving and the other lady blinded each other with a pepper spray and then have to still go through the whole motions of the fight. That was brilliant. That was just as good as the first. And then as far as the other cast and all the guest stars, I was a little bit disappointed with how underutilized Sarah Michelle Gellar was. I felt like she was in a lot of it, but not really doing a lot. They were kind of letting Dr. Abbott overshadow her, which I was not expecting. Dr. Abbott, low-key the MVP of the whole movie. He was killing it, but I felt sort of faded into the background in a way that was kind of sad. I did really like when she pulled those Buffy moves on Samara in her one major fight sequence. But otherwise, her character was a bit of a disappointment. And then Elijah Wood, I liked. I thought he was kind of on autopilot, but an enjoyable enough role, and I'm trying to remember if there's anybody else. Cronenberg, yeah, that was kind of a waste. I don't really get that. But yeah, I think it was perfectly good, and in the span of sequels that are maybe not as good as the first, I think this one's tolerable, and certainly one that I would still maybe put on after watching the first one.
I had put in our group chat, you guys probably read it, where Elijah Wood in movies about rings of power. Yeah. I mean, I find that amusing. And just like how with Sarah Michelle Gellar, I think that the shadow of Buffy is always going to loom above her, and I think she's aware of that. And that one fight sequence you're talking about, they do kind of lean into that. I feel like it would have been fun to lean into the Lord of the Rings-ness of Elijah Wood and this ring of power just a little bit. You don't need to directly reference Lord of the Rings, but like, something that says like there's some commonality. There's like a parallel here. I think that would have been funny. Maybe a little more meta, I think, is what I would have wanted out of this. Intentionally, I mean. Marty, I'll come back to you and your thoughts about the cast, how it was utilized.
Yeah, I was still very upset about them cutting David Cronenberg so short. Like, I went in expecting to see a good bit of him. I expected, I don't know, him to be this like looming presence over the film, and then he gets smothered with a pillow less than 10 minutes in, and I was like, oh. But the rest of the cast I think is pretty great. Like, I really liked the addition of Kathryn Newton. I liked having the two sister dynamic versus the twins of Sarah Michelle Gellar and Sean Hattasey. Sean Hattasey kills it. I thought Nestor, his character was kind of Ignacio was whatever. Like, I just thought he was very boring, but his daughter's character was really interesting. And I think I read that it was originally written for what's her name?
Melissa Barrera.
Thank you. Yeah, it was originally written for her, but scheduling couldn't work out. I thought like she did a really good job with the character. I loved the second they pull out the bazooka, and I was like, oh, I bet it's gonna be turned the wrong way. It was turned the wrong way. Like, I loved that dynamic. I didn't mind the Total Eclipse of the Heart needle drop. I thought it made it pretty funny. Yeah, I enjoyed the cast here. I feel like they had a lot of fun, but I agree. I do feel like Sarah Michelle Gellar was underutilized. I do think it kind of just went in a very predictable route, but I liked seeing the sister dynamic, especially like the Catholicness of it all with the faith and grace.
Mm-hmm. The David Cronenberg underutilization, and I think a lot of the characters underutilization, in my opinion, I think that is a byproduct of how contrived I think that this movie is. Like I kind of mentioned earlier, Ready or Not, as far as I understand, was not meant to be a franchise. It was kind of a standalone movie, and it felt like a standalone movie. Ready or Not, Here I Come, it is clearly a sequel born out of popular demand, or maybe just a need to do something besides Scream, as you guys are saying. And I think that shows in how they try to construct this concept. It is not nearly as organic as the first one. The first one is very simple. We're bringing this bride, just play this game, and if she survives, she wins. If not, then we may or may not die. Like, there is a very elegant simplicity to it. I found myself feeling like I was like opening up a new board game and trying to learn a new board game with friends as I was watching this, as Elijah Wood is like laying out all the rules and all the little nuances of how this has to go. And like, yeah, once you like understand all the rules, like, I guess it makes sense. But man, trying to put it all together, it was just like trying to learn this complicated board game. And maybe on second watch, once you get the rules, it makes sense, but it just felt like these rules are being made just to contrive this particular movie. And so I kind of want to talk about the story here. Zach, I'm gonna come to you. Tell me what you thought about this story and the construction of Ready or Not, Here I Come.
So one thing I want to start by saying, in terms of story that I wanted to mention is that this film kind of loses. I thought the first one had a sort of like wicked dark humor sensibility to it that this one just doesn't have. Like there's not as much like not really sight gags, but just like humor or anything. Like I wasn't laughing or really. I don't know. I just thought, yeah, in terms of that. I also, before I talk about the story, I forgot to mention this earlier. I just want to shout out Elijah Wood in terms of just like the fact since Lord of the Rings has done really well in terms of like just producing and being in different horror, like small horror films over the last few years. And I forgot to mention that earlier. But in terms of story, I didn't think this was as successful as the first one. You definitely had the sort of like, even the fact that they decided to, and I believe you mentioned this in the group chat earlier, Thomas, you said it reminded you of The Hangover 2. And
Oh
I
yeah.
would agree. This movie, it feels like a retread when they could have, the concept of them picking a game, they could have done something different, but it just ends up that they're doing the exact same thing as the first movie, and there's not much difference. And it just kind of ends up like they're just blowing people up again. I'd even would have appreciated if there was like a different way that they died in this one instead of just randomly exploding. After the third or fourth random death like that, it starts to get old, at least for me. I don't know if you guys felt that way. I don't think this was as successful in terms of story as the first one was.
You could tell that they were really just playing the greatest hits from the first movie. I like audibly laughed in my theater when she said, "We might have to fight, and I can't fight in this gown. Let me put on this blood-soaked dress. That'll be better." Like, what? Okay, I get it. You want her to be back in the iconic costume, but like that was probably the laziest way to get there. And so
I
you
also
can,
think,
yeah.
oh, sorry.
No, I guess
Oh,
you can kind of feel how how much work they're trying to do to just replay the things that they did the last time. In that same scene, after she changes to fight better in the gown, the blood-soaked gown, she can't even fight because they then want to get to the dude exploding and they have to invent a rule to make that happen. It's so contrived. Anyway.
I feel like even too that could have been written better of like she's like trying to walk away and like her sister notices her gown and her ass is showing or something. It's like you
Yeah.
can't be walking around in this. And then she's the one who's like, here, just put this thing back on. And she's like, I don't want to put this back on. Like I just feel like some of those small elements were just like, ugh, how do we do this? And like I agree too about like the comedic relief. I feel like the Fitch character in the first one was like the perfect sense of like getting that silly comedy in. And like they tried to do that with the two brothers that's in this one and then the wife who just like drives away. But I don't know, I didn't feel that same sense of like I shouldn't be laughing at this, but I'm having a good time. This was just like an enjoyable watch, but like the first one has a rewatchability. Like I can put on the first movie and rewatch it on any given day and have a good time. This one, I'm like, do I need to rewatch it even ever? I had a good time the one time. I think that's enough. Like that's kind of how I feel about it.
Mm-hmm. Michael, I don't think
this
I've
is going to
given you
go
a chance.
hard as hell on Hulu.
On Hulu. Yeah, I think that it will find an audience on streaming. But then kind of like what Marty's saying, the first one is also available. So like just watch that one again. I think for me the
This
contrivedness.
movie didn't.
Yeah.
It
Go
didn't
ahead,
really
Mike.
feel like something that even needed a sequel. Sorry.
It
I
didn't
think
need
it
a
could have
sequel.
been a
No.
great sequel.
Mhm.
It was just that they didn't quite do it, I would say. But also, if they do 3 or 4 and like maybe those are better, I could see, doing like the whole franchise if this is kind of like the dip. But yeah, I think as a 2 pack, I think that the addition of the sister dynamic is definitely just the most original thing about it, and the sense of
Mhm.
them kind of healing their relationship. Like story wise, that was definitely my favorite aspect, even though I felt like they would contrive reasons for Kathryn Newton to get mad at her again right after they made
Mhm.
up. Like my favorite was when the guy was like, "You can marry me," and Kathryn was like, "Yeah, you should do it." Right after they had like their heart to heart, and suddenly she was like so insistent that she enters this like non-consensual marriage and like wasn't even trying to like stick up for her. I thought that was kind of weird. But then there would be a lot of really sweet moments that I would maybe rewatch it to see. But it's just it doesn't have that same momentum where the
Mhm.
first one's
Mhm.
just constantly building and building and building and getting crazier and crazier. This one, it feels like it's a set piece and then it stops, and there's a
Mhm.
set piece and then it stops, and that's just it's not as good.
I feel
Yeah.
like if the setting switched, like the
Mm.
first one, you're in a big mansion. They keep
Mhm.
talking about how like these sisters are from New York. What if they put them in like a high-rise apartment and now you have to like fight different levels? I don't know. I feel like them being just in this wide mansion. First one was also on like a mansion, large property. It just like treading the same water again and
Oh yeah.
again.
Totally.
Well, it's a good
Totally.
thing they didn't do the high rise apartment because that movie comes out next week
Oh wait, which
with
one is that?
They Will Kill You.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Yes. Wait, did you saw that one too?
No, that was the
Oh,
day after I left.
darn. All
But
right.
no, I know. But I mean, I thought about sticking around for it, but I was like, it comes out in a week.
Yeah.
It
I'll just
also
catch it.
has middling reviews.
Mm.
Really, I've
Yeah.
heard probably better things about that than this. So
Okay.
Well,
I
just from the trailers, I think that the action choreography is probably a lot better in They Will Kill You than here in Ready or Not. Here I come. um this is into there's so many talking points you guys have pointed out, and I like want to dissect all of them because I think there's a lot to talk about with like how we feel about this movie. Let's see, which point was I just stewing on? I think there was a point made about the contrivedness of the arguing, and I think that there are a number of things that came up that when they came up I'm like, this is so cringe, but actually had some payoff. The insisted marriage thing, right? Like when we introduced the idea that getting married can get you out of it, and of course Kathryn Newton's character is like, yeah, let's do that, that sounds great. In the moment it's like, this feels forced, this doesn't feel natural, but then it actually becomes a main plot point in how the movie resolves. I don't know how anyone didn't know that she was going to kill him right afterward. I like caught that the moment she said let's get married, like
Oh
that.
yeah.
I thought that was a part of her plan the whole time. But then of course you have to invent a rule, which is when he kills Sarah Michelle Gellar, it's nothing, no rules against killing families, so you have to invent a rule to make this thing happen. But ultimately I think like when the wedding happened, and then there's also the callback line to when Kathryn Newton says, when you left me, you said one thing, that this is the only way, there is no other option. That line was delivered and I'm like, it's so cliche, it's so contrived. But then it comes back in the wedding and it's like, okay, I see why you wrote it in there, but that was like, and I think there's a number of times that happens in the movie, and I'm ultimately getting to the fact that I think a lot of the things that this movie poorly sets up does actually have payoff in the end, that I think is what made it enjoyable at the end for me. I think conclusions make or break a movie, and the way the sister dynamic, as contrived as it was, as petty as it was, it just didn't feel like a like a real problem in the midst of being hunted. But in the end it's like, oh okay, I am feeling that chemistry between you two now, and I appreciate the arc that you guys went through. And so I think maybe I want to touch a little bit more on what was good about this movie, which it seems to be the sister relationship here. Let me hear a little bit more about how that impacted your watch experience, and Zach, we'll start with you here.
Kathryn Newton is one of my favorite actresses in terms of horror. Like, one of my favorite horror movies of the decade so far is Freaky, directed by Christopher Landon. So whenever she shows up in a horror movie, I'm excited, and I agree that the sister dynamic is probably the only thing that kept me interested in this film. The chemistry between Samara Weaving and Kathryn Newton is very good, and I just it was very well done, and it was, like I said, probably the only thing that kept me interested. You mentioned earlier that the action choreography wasn't that great, and a lot of the set pieces just didn't really work for me. So yeah, it was mainly the dynamic that kept me intrigued and interested, and I think that's just a testament to how good of a performance both Kathryn Newton and Samara Weaving gave.
Marty, let's come to you. Let's get a little bit more about how you feel about the sister dynamic.
I thought it worked really well. I do think some of the times, I guess things were being set up. Like, yes, they did have a payoff, but it felt like sometimes the repeating of lines was less of setup payoff and more of just like the, what did they come out saying about Netflix where they have to like repeat themselves so many times for people who are on their phone? Like, it felt more like that than like, let's make sure like people can see like where things are going. It's more just like, how do we dumb this down for like the most baseline audience? But like, for the most part, I really, really liked their dynamics together. And I thought it was a great mirror of seeing we've got the twins over here with Sarah Michelle Gellar and Sean Hattasey versus Samara Weaving and Kathryn Newton. You've got the two over here who are coming together and learning to love each other and fight their differences versus the two over here who are just like always combative with each other, always kind of trying to kill one another and don't seem to care about one of each other. You've got like the two bickering siblings on each side, and you've got the ones that are coming together, the ones that are breaking apart. Thought that was like a fun dynamic to kind of see. But yeah, I think one of my favorite parts though was when they're trying to get the phone off of the one dead guy and Kathryn Newton's just like standing over here and she's just like, yep, that's all you. That is all you. And it's like, that phone would be soaked, like one. But two, it's just like, she's like, yeah, you wanted to be part of this mess. That's on you. Like, I thought that was very like, okay, those are sisters. That's definitely little sister, big sister.
Yeah, that's another scene where I felt kind of contrived because there's that phone. There's no reason I could reasonably suspect that phone would still be working. Let the dude tumble, right? Like, I just would have left him there. But you have to have this moment, and like the moment is fun. It just felt contrived getting there. Like, I don't know why you need that phone that badly. It's probably not going to work. But anyway, oh shoot, there was another point that I was going to make on that. Yeah, that was a good scene. Michael, let's get to you and a little bit more about the dynamic between the sisters.
I just think I would love to see them again in something else. I mean, that pairing of, I think that Samara's more kind of intense, agitated energy mixed with Kathryn Newton's more like quippy, lighthearted. Like, she's almost like a Joss Whedon character, like slipped into this movie. I thought that dynamic and that chemistry was so great, and it really just it exemplified how I feel about both of them as actresses. They're just so dynamic and wonderful to see together. And that at this point, that's really all I have to say. Is just that I think that they're both tremendous, and even in this movie, that's just okay. I would love to see them come together. If they want to do The Bride of Lisa Frankenstein and have Samara Weaving in there, I'm here for it.
It's interesting. So we've talked about the directors having done Scream, but the other movie that they did that also has Kathryn Newton is Abigail. And I think I compare this more to Abigail, and I like to think about what if Samara Weaving was an Abigail and you had that dynamic, right? Like, that would have been really cool. Which could have been what this could have been if it wasn't for what I would call some lazy writing. But that was just something that I was thinking about with because I liked Abigail. That was a fun time, and it has really good moments, good action choreography, good character development. And I can't, I'm trying to think with the first Ready or Not, were there more characters in this one than there was in the last one? Because I know the last one was still an ensemble, but I'm trying to think how many characters were in the first one.
I feel like there were more in the first one.
Yeah.
Because like they also brought in like having the like maids or servants or whatever, like being part of the games, and they were killed. And like this one, they're kind of just like in the background, just waiting for that final scene where, oh, now I'm going to try to steal the ring,
and maybe that's what I'm getting at. This one feels like more characters, probably because so many of them have so little to do. They're literally
just saving them for that end piece to just all be fighting in that pit below, like
right. Yeah, which is the ultimate, like, this gag is not over, like we want to keep doing this explosion gag. How can we build up to a big explosion gag? Yeah, I see that. But I guess on that subject, let's talk about the kills. Are there any kills that stood out to you in this movie? I know there's one in my mind, but for you guys, was there a kill that was particularly clever, particularly creative, particularly surprising? Zach, I'm gonna start with you, putting you on the spot.
I'll just steal the easy one and say I just think that the ending set piece is just an incredibly gory, fun time, and to watch all of them go in that pit and then just everything blow up is that's probably my favorite kill scene of the whole movie. Either that or I know it's not necessarily a kill scene, but the fight scene between Sean Hannity and Kathryn Newton is one that I really enjoyed as well.
He was beating the crap out of her. That was crazy. She's so small. He was just pummeling her.
Yeah,
that was a good scene.
Yep. It's probably the kill scene at the end.
Yeah, for sure. Marty, what about you? What was your favorite kill?
Well, first I can say, Sean Hannity, if you're listening, you can kick the shit out of me anytime, any day. I am available. I literally saw that and I was just like, really enjoying it. But and then I was like, I got out of the theater and I was like, oh, I gotta go watch The Pit, and then he wasn't on The Pit, and I was like, oh. But I really loved the samurai sword in the face. Like I thought that was a lot of fun, especially like the explosions right after, but just like the look of the sword like right through his head, fantastic.
That was the one I was thinking of. I audibly gasped when that happened. I think it was probably the most surprising kill that I wasn't expecting. And yeah, it was it came, I thought it came out of nowhere, and it definitely had this like visceral look to it. So
I wanted more samurai sword action. Like
she got the samurai sword and then just didn't do anything with it.
I wanted someone to like lose a hand or something. Like just something like funny and gaggy with the samurai sword after that, and then it just didn't come back to play really. And I was like,
Michael, how about you? What was your favorite kill?
My favorite that hasn't been mentioned already is the laundry machine, the dryer. That was very good. That was just so like slow too.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only thing I would say beyond that is just like I know I said this earlier, but the pepper spray fight was so good. It's not really a kill, but like it was fantastic.
That was pretty funny. Even though the Sean Hannity Kathryn Newton fight was important and also had his own visceral thing, I hate that they had to go between the two. I kind of just wanted to stay either with that fight or stay with the pepper spray fight. Like, stop switching between the two. I want to live in this in this action that's happening with this particular setting.
They were such different tones. Like you've got this like comedic fight scene, and then you've got this like really intense, like kind of horrific, like beating scene going on. So it's like them going against each other just felt very grating in a way. Like where it's like if just one happened and then one happened, enjoy. But like the side by side, the cutting back and forth, it just like kept being like, oh, and then oh, like it just, you couldn't find peace with it.
Right. And I think, I dislike when movies have these two characters going through similar things, and so it feels the need to splice between the two going through the same things. And I think action movies can do this sometimes, where they'll both characters are rooting for will be losing at the same time, and then they'll be winning at the same time, and it cuts back and forth between the same like arc that's happening in the scene on both of them. That's clearly what this scene was going for. But Marty, you're spot on. It was just the tones were way too different. You want to laugh at the pepper spray scene, but then you're horrified at the hallway scene. They just were not cohesive enough to go back and forth between. So yeah, that was frustrating. I don't know. There's so much about the story that I found frustrating, especially with like, again, I guess I'm coming back around to how contrived everything was, and how maybe unnatural things unfolded. Like having the wedding that same night is like again, I get because of the rules, but like you just went from being blood, guts, horror fighting to now this ceremony that's happening. I don't know, guys. I don't know. It just felt kind of weird to me.
I feel like the wedding should have been like a little rush thing, and then they make it a big ceremony about her having to join the cult after the wedding. So it's like the wedding is just like a quick little like Elijah Wood's there. He does it like literally like right there in the like kitchen, and then it's like a week later, and then you have like this big set piece, and then so we could have even more of these like worshipers, followers, if they wanted to have like a big explosion about people fighting over this ring. Like it did feel that rush, and like especially if it's going to be a big deal about her joining the cult, like they should have made it feel more so instead of just putting that with the marriage at the same point in time.
Totally. Zach, let's talk a little bit about the ceremony. What did you feel about that inclusion in the conclusion of this film?
I thought that the ceremony was probably the best part of the film for me. Like I mentioned earlier, it's probably my favorite kill scene. It's where radio silence felt like the most radio silence scene in the film. You mentioned Abigail earlier, and this is the only scene in this movie that kind of gave me that same vibe. And it was a nice, I don't want to say nice because it's obviously like a bunch of death, but like it was a cool closer for this movie. And I ask you guys this question: do you guys think there's going to be a third film? Like, does this set it up for a third film? Like, because I'm really curious myself, honestly, because the way, and obviously like we've been talking spoilers this whole time, but the way this ends, it didn't really feel to me that they were setting up a trilogy capper. So I'm curious to see, like, do you guys think that there's going to be a third one?
Michael, let's move to you. Let's get your thoughts on the ceremony, and then like segue into whether a third one could be feasible from here.
Really solid climax, very fun. Loved everybody crawling around in the hole, fighting each other. That was wonderful. I was pretty in on the movie by that point, so I enjoyed myself. The sequel, the third one, not after that box office. They went up against Project Hail Mary and fucked around and found out pretty much.
Didn't they move this movie too? Because it was supposed to come out like next week, wasn't it? And they moved it up a week.
Oh, they did move it. That's true. Probably
they didn't want to go up against They Will Kill You, an identical film, but they should have just picked a. No, I don't know. As far as the actual movie itself, I feel like it could. Like in the same sense that the first one ended, and I wasn't like, there's going to be a sequel, and then there was. I'm sure they can figure out some way to continue it. Would they? Should they want to? But my theory is we're not going to see it. I feel like everyone's going to move on, especially since Radio Silence is about to do The Mummy.
Well, I guess they took a while to make this one. There could be a world where another one comes out. I'm trying to read through articles right now. Ready or Not 2, here I come, started slow with 2.8 million from 21 territories. The film opened to 9.1 million domestically, for a global box office of 11.9 million against this $20 million budget. So I think it's going to be profitable. Maybe. I mean, can it hit 40 million off of that? Against Project Hail Mary.
The first one made like 8.
Oh,
So
okay.
like
So,
it's more that I think it shows like, it was a consistent but not increased. Like, with 7
yeah,
years in between, I feel like you would hope for like 20 million. And I feel
right.
like it was like it more shows a stagnation that I feel like won't motivate them in my book.
Yeah,
We'll see. But
maybe. And I
my
think
take on
that
it.
I think Marty makes a really good point about it finding a home on streaming, especially with the second screen treatment that Marty was pointing out, with how things are written and how they're explaining things. Marty, let's go to you about the viability of a sequel here.
I kind of don't see a sequel happening. If they do, like, I'll check it out. Why not? Like, I'll go see a horror movie. But it had the same kind of ending as Scream 6 did, where you've got the two sisters walking into the sunrise.
Mm.
So it just kind of felt very like, I don't know, this is where we're leaving you. And like, Scream 6 ends with like the end of the Carpenter sister story, and like to me that felt like perfect ending. And like kind of same here, it's like the sisters are leaving off into the sunrise. I don't want to know what the world breaks into with every big CEO dead or whatever that they're saying with this movie. Like, I have the hopes and dreams that it's like everything turns into idyllic and we're bartering and we're trading and it's more about the everyday man. And like, I love that idea, and I don't want to know what ideas that they'll put in if they have to do a third film and talk about how the economy has crashed. And I don't need to know that.
Mm-hmm. Zach, you posed the question. Let's get your answer. What's the viability of a sequel here?
I hope that, I don't think that the first one was very profitable, and yet there's a sequel. So who knows? This could, like you guys said, find a second life on streaming. But I personally probably would not go see a third film in this trilogy. I think that the two films that they've made so far are a perfect kind of amalgamation of the same story, and I don't really think that a third film would add much unless they maybe try a different game or maybe a different setting. Or you guys mentioned the high rise thing, but I think that's already been covered by They Will Kill You, and so I don't know. I don't think that there will be a third one, but who knows? Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, I was thinking about this as I walked out of this one, and like, there's a part of me that would like to see a third one, because I don't think that Samara Weaving, like, as much as we like the chemistry between her and Kathryn Newton here, I don't think that she's able to be the badass that we want her to be. She still finds herself in very vulnerable positions here. She still finds herself very weak and at the on the short end of the stick. I want her to be like a lot more confident. She's been through this twice now, right? The first time was unexpected and horrific. Follow that right up with another unexpected and horrific round where she's back into an unknown situation. I want to see her come back and just like kick some ass and be a lot more confident and be a lot more badass and just be like, okay, this is the third time. It's less of like, oh no, here we go again, and more of like, all right, here we go again.
They would need Laura Croft her, like, or not Laura Croft. What's Terminator? What's
Terminator?
Sarah Connor.
Sarah
We need to like
Connor,
Sarah Connor her, like literally turn her
true.
into like oh, I'm ready, and like literally have like bazookas and machine guns and like she's like, I'm ready to fight anything. Like,
right, because
like, I feel like they would need to turn her into that like badass.
That's totally what I'm thinking, because I think marketing positions her like that, but when you watch the movie, it's still her on the short end of the stick and being unaware and uninformed and really just kind of still trying to figure it out and still being subjected to mistakes and stuff. And so I do want to see like her as like Sarah Connor. We've been through this. I know the game now. Stop making up rules. Let's just go kick some ass. I also don't mind when enclosed horror concepts leak out into the world. I actually kind of think that would be interesting. I don't know how much you want to get into like the economy and how the power is now dispersed and who knows what that does to the world. But I think I'd like to see with a little more intentionality on the script what that idea looks like, how it it goes into a bigger playing field. And yeah, that Sarah Connor treatment. Let's go kick some ass and take over power. And I think that there's also opportunity there to really have something to say about power. I think that that's one thing that these movies haven't really like hit home. It identifies that power is, there's a cost to power. I think that's one of the themes here. But it doesn't, I don't think that it really like makes that a central focus on the themes that's trying to convey. In this one, obviously the theme is more focused on that sisterhood and that sister dynamic. That is the takeaway from this movie. So it's more of a family drama in that way. But yeah, maybe after these, if we are going to do a third one, let's have something profound to say about power and what that means in a world that us normal people have to live in. There you go, guys.
If they were gonna do that, she would have taken over like when they gave her the ring and they were like, "You have all the power," and she rejected it. I feel like that was kind of a missed opportunity to set up 3 if they were gonna. Like have her maybe have her go in and then have her be the one running the game, and like have a bunch of rich people play. Like they could have done that.
I mean, I'm kind of surprised.
I feel like they were trying to wrap it up.
They were definitely not trying to commit to a third. That was very clear. Like once she threw the ring away, like, oh, you guys are not committing to a third one. You're going to shoehorn. If you do a third one, it's going to be just as shoehorned as this one. But I think that that's a good point, because I would have expected her. Like I was waiting for her to have the power and then just abolish the games. Like, I can do whatever I want. Awesome. Let's get rid of this whole system. Like we're done with it. But of course they had the whole gag and the big explosion that they had to do and kind of leave it open for like, if they do want to shoehorn a third one. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things they could have done, but I think the lack of commitment to an ongoing franchise kind of held this one up a little bit. There was a question I had. Zach, did you want to talk any more about the viability of a third one, or how they didn't really leave it open but kind of did? Like what do you think is going on with these filmmakers here?
One thing I also want to mention about Radio Silence is it feels like this movie was kind of rushed along, because I believe they joined this movie pretty late into the game. I'm pretty sure there was like an original concept that they wrote and they were like Searchlight or whoever it was wasn't really happy. So they called Radio Silence to be like, hey, we need to make the second one. So I think that might be where a lot of the issues are coming from here, the contrivability that you guys mentioned earlier. But in terms of the viability of the third one, I think that, like I made the joke earlier that this is going to go hard on Hulu, but I think that streaming would probably be the most logical way that we would see a third film like this. I really don't think that a theatrical third film would happen, especially unless this you mentioned earlier, this only has a budget of 20 million. So there is a possibility that this could have a profit, but I think that if we watch a third film, it would probably be on Hulu. And I don't even think it would be directed by Radio Silence, because you mentioned earlier as well, their next project is The Mummy with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. They have better and bigger things to move on to. So I think that the Radio Silence guys will be okay. But yeah.
I'm sorry, if streaming is the option, wrap it up. Wrap it up.
I don't know. I think I want to support movies going to theaters, but like I look at opportunities like this, and I think like give an up and comer a chance. Now that the franchise has been established, we want to do a third one. Give someone new the opportunity to come in and kind of add their own spin to it. Maybe they actually have something to say about power that Radio Silence just wasn't really interested in trying to explore. This just screams opportunity to me, and I get kind of annoyed when Hollywood goes back to the same wells over and over again. They tap the same people. They're looking for name recognition, and there's so much opportunity out there. I mean, we have so many horror movies that come out every year. This is an opportunity to get some of these like newer horror film makers a chance to have like a really interesting sophomore film, or to have to take a chance on someone who might have something interesting to add to this canon. That's what I think, and Hollywood should listen to me more often. So if you guys are
So what I'm hearing is you want Curry Barker to direct Ready or Not 3.
No. He's got much better things to do.
I still got to see that movie. I'm really excited for it.
That movie rocks.
I can't wait.
Apparently, they cut some of the. From what I've heard, like the entire movie is exactly the same, but they cut some of the smashing of the face into the.
I did hear that too, and I'm just like, go NC-17. People will go crazy.
At least let the digital have that, because that was the most shocking part of the film, in my opinion, and like that's where I was like, oh. So like missing some of that, I'm just like. But I still think the film will still be spectacular on a rewatch. But
it's a great movie. I'm sitting here like, release the Curry cut. That's what I want.
And he's making his next one right now. So
yes, I am so on board. Look, Obsession is an incredible feature film for Curry, and I cannot wait to see what he does next. And this movie hasn't even come out yet to wide release.
It's a ghost movie, his next one.
Oh, really?
Anything but ghosts. 2 fake paranormal investigators must face actual ghosts while dealing with the deception of their own fraudulent business. Maybe he'll finally make a ghost movie that I like. That would be crazy.
Yes, I would bet on it. I think that he's on to something right now, and I can't wait for the rest of the world to see Obsession. Now I'm turning this podcast episode into an Obsession podcast. We will definitely be talking about that movie before it comes out on here.
Mm-hmm.
So
you asked me earlier. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
You asked me earlier where this lands on the horror movie scale for this year, but I really think that this is kind of a blip on the radar of good horror. Like you guys just mentioned Obsession. Leviticus is coming this summer. Faces of Death is coming out next month. Like there's good horror. Even I believe the new David Robert Mitchell movie comes out this summer as well. So like this is definitely a blip on the radar of like horror movies in terms of quality for sure. Like this is not indicative of what the year holds for us. Hopefully not.
We already had like some good stuff. Send Help, The Bone Temple.
Yeah.
I really hope Buddy from South by comes out this year. That was a blast. It was so crazy. I agree. We're in for some good stuff this year.
Oh, I just realized that Backrooms comes out the same weekend as Tuner. That's an interesting counter.
Tuner's so good. Tuner's awesome.
Everyone go see Tuner. Support Daniel. He's amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Which movie did you talk with him about? Was it Tuner or AI?
Tuner.
Nice. Very cool. We've actually gotten a lot of Daniel Rohr coverage. We talked about Tuner at TIFF. We talked about Tuner at Sundance. You did the red carpet for Tuner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to talk with him. I went to his talk about the AI documentary. So like, Daniel's doing great stuff in the filmmaking world. And Tuner is absolutely one of those things that you have to go out of your way to see. So it'll be an interesting double feature with Backrooms, though. I'm not sure how to feel about that. But
Backrooms is going to be a fun pod.
They're both going to be great. I mean, you just might want to put a day in between the two, is what I'm saying.
Oh, for sure.
Also, we forgot the biggest one, Werewolf.
Werewolf.
Yeah.
I don't know about this one. Wait, what's Werewolf?
Christmas Day.
The new Eggers.
Oh, really?
Aaron Taylor Johnson werewolf movie.
Apparently it's his saddest and darkest movie. That's what I keep hearing. Like I heard somebody on the movie needed a hug after reading the script. Like apparently it's like capital D downer.
Who doesn't love a feel bad Christmas movie?
I know. I'm so excited. He can do no wrong in my mind.
That's awesome. All right, guys. I think we're about ready to wrap this up. Were there any other final thoughts on Ready or Not? Here I Come.
I think we've all said everything there is to say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I hope everyone listening to this enjoys choosing Project Hail Mary over Ready or Not. No, I think we've all pointed out that there are some good things to take away from it. Overall, it's a bit of a mess, but yeah, maybe that second life in streaming, it can find an audience. So I appreciate it, guys. Let's see, what are we talking about next week? What comes out this week?
They Will Kill You, right?
They Will Kill You.
Yeah, I think it's just They Will Kill You.
Yeah, all right. Maybe we'll I think we'll probably that does Forbidden Fruits come out this week?
I think it does, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
saw
seeing
that
it
at
on
South by.
Wednesday. I'm seeing
I
it
know
on
that
Wednesday. I'm so excited.
On Saturday, I'm finally going to get a chance to see the film Alpha, the Julia DeCarno movie.
Oh,
very
yeah.
excited.
I haven't seen. I
So
haven't caught that yet.
Yeah, I'm interested in that for sure.
Forbidden Fruits is definitely a wavelength movie that you're either riding or not. I feel like I didn't quite get it. I feel like I probably need to see it again.
Well, we'll probably negotiate and debate which one we'll talk about next week. But until then, Zach, Michael, Marty, thank you guys so much for joining me in this conversation about Ready or Not, Here I Come. We will see all of you guys next week on ForReel.